Do you ever feel overly sad or depressed or wish there was a way to feel better? Or maybe you've struggled with depression so much that you feel a little broken, like I used to. My name is Lori Hammond, and I'm going to show you how I stepped out of deep, lifelong depression so that others can do the same. It's controversial to say I can help you with depression. So I'm just going to share what worked for me and double dare you to try it out, even if it seems too simple and easy to be true. If you'd like my free hypnosis audio that speaks to the subconscious mind in a way that lets a person step out of depression, you can get it now by looking in the description below this video. I spent the first 40 years of my life in deep, chronic depression. I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression multiple times. I tried pills and potions and talk therapy and just about anything someone suggested. I don't remember a time in the past when I wasn't depressed. I also struggled horribly with weight issues, and I'm going to explain how this relates to depression in a moment, but the more depressed I felt, the more I ate. I had always been afraid of hypnosis. I thought it was mind control, and I grew up being told it was of the devil. But I was so desperate to lose weight that I would rather play with fire than stay overweight. I went to see a couple hypnotists for weight issues. I didn't really care for the hypnotist, and they didn't help me. So I thought, I'm just going to learn this hypnosis thing for myself. During my training, I learned what I'm about to teach you, and it wiped out the depression I had struggled with for decades. I was pleasantly surprised to discover my depression was better because that wasn't even why I was learning hypnosis. I'd given up hope that my depression could be helped. Becoming depression free was a side effect of my hypnosis training. My training uncovered some simple, science backed facts that helped me realize I'm not broken. If you like the idea of finally stepping out of depression, you'll know exactly how to do it after you watch this video. Before I teach you the first tool called the 3 Bs, it's important that you understand one of the most interesting facts about the different parts of our personality. Every human on the planet has different parts to their personality. This is not multiple personalities because we all have multiple ways that we sometimes show up in the world. Sometimes we feel grumpy and easily annoyed, and we show up that way. Sometimes we feel excited because we're looking forward to something. Sometimes we feel bored and uninspired, so we act bored and uninspired. And sometimes we feel happy and optimistic. Imagine playing on the floor with a cute puppy. Maybe you're playing tug of war with a rope toy. When I do this, I sometimes even growl like a dog and get lost in an almost childlike state of play. This is a part of my personality. Sometimes people refer to these parts as states. When I'm playing with a puppy, I'm in a playful state. Now, sometimes I get stuck in traffic and the guy behind me is tailgating me, even though I'm pacing the car in front of me. I've been known to spew obscenities in my car and angrily move over a lane so he'll get in front of me and no longer put me in danger. I act like a real brat. I am being authentic Lori in both of those situations. I'm authentically playful and joyful when I play with a puppy, and I'm authentically a brat when I get tailgated in traffic. If I told you that we each have over 100 parts or aspects of personality, would you be intrigued? It's a neuroscience fact. You can think of the different parts of your personality like kids in a classroom. There are over 100 kids in each of our classrooms, over 100 parts of you. And remember, this is true of everyone, but there is a hard, fast rule to this classroom, and it's important. So listen closely. Only one kid can stand in front of the classroom at a time, and whichever kid is up front is running the show. All the other kids have to sit down or play in various activity stations around the room. So when we're playing with a puppy, playful kid is in the front of the room. When someone is tailgating us in traffic, you might have angry kid in the front of the room, and they're running the show. One of the things you might be most surprised to discover is that if you've ever experienced a certain way of showing up in the world, a certain way of acting, even for a moment, then it is a kid in your classroom. If you have ever felt peaceful or optimistic or confident, then peaceful, optimistic, and confident kids are in your classroom. They just might not be used to coming up to the front and running the show. Here's another amazing fact. If you can perceive that kid in the classroom when someone else has it, that means it's yours too. If you can watch Batman and see him ooze confidence, if you can watch someone speak on a stage and see them feel comfortable and well spoken, that means you have a confident kid and a comfortable, well spoken kid in your classroom too. Guess what? Depression is a state. Depression is a kid in the classroom. When that kid stands at the front of the classroom, he literally impacts the chemicals in the body. Sometimes it's appropriate to see a doctor and have them prescribe a regimen to help. It is also scientifically proven that the 3-second exercise I'm about to teach you can change the chemicals in the body too. Most of the time, we can simply bring a different kid to the front of the classroom to shift the way we feel and even what we believe is possible. And once you know how to do it, you get to decide when it happens instead of life circumstances deciding for you. This exercise I'm about to teach you is what made me decide to become a hypnotist, because this life-changing aha moment let me step out of depression. And you're about to get the exact same aha moment, but I have to warn you, it's ridiculously simple. And you might think, how can it be this easy? But it is, I promise. Also, this technique has nothing to do with trance or what most people think of when they say hypnosis. You don't even have to be good at or know anything about hypnosis to be good at the tool I'm about to give you. So, if I could show you a simple, proven way to change your state, to change the kid at the front of the classroom in just a few seconds, would you be interested? All you get to do is change your 3 Bs. The 3 Bs are body language, breathing, and belief. Every kid in the classroom has their own unique combination of 3 Bs. That last B, belief, really just means thoughts, but thoughts doesn't start with a B. Each kid has different beliefs, and when we switch kids, our beliefs and even our capabilities change. Here's how it works. You can often tell by looking at a person if depressed kid is running the show. The 3 Bs of depression are body language, usually slumped forward slightly or a lot. Breathing. The breath is shallow and sometimes almost hard to perceive. A person usually breathes out for longer than they breathe in or has more of an emphasis on the exhale when they're depressed. And the 3 B, belief. There are thoughts going through the head like, what's the point? I'm a screw up. Life is so hard, or something similar. When depressed kid is in the front of the classroom, it can seem impossible to feel hope. And that's because each kid has different capabilities. If you've ever tried affirmations and they didn't work, it's because affirmations are the 3 B, belief, and you must change the other 2 Bs before you bring in the 3 B. You must change your body language and breathing before you start changing the belief or the affirmations. If you're slumped over and hardly breathing and thinking, everything is working out for my highest good, it's going to feel like complete BS. But when you do what I'm about to show you, and I double dare you to follow along with me while you watch, everything changes, especially the kid at the front of the classroom. So, first is body language. So I want you to imagine that there's a magic string right in the center of the top of your head. And this magic string is lifting you up in a way that allows you to straighten out as your shoulders relax down and back. Your chin comes up a bit higher. You look up, at least at eye level or higher. Facial expression is a part of body language too, so I double dare you to paste a ridiculous grin on your face for no reason. Smile so big your eyes crinkle up. If you want to get really big, you can even outstretch your arms to the sides and a bit behind you, as if you're getting ready to give the world a hug. Good. Now, as you hold this posture, I invite you to take a deep, invigorating breath through the nose if possible and bring it all the way down to the belly as you fill your lungs and let it out with a gentle sigh of relief through the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. In through the nose, down into the belly, and out through the mouth. In through the nose, down into the belly, and out through the mouth. Now, as you continue to hold this body language, we're going to bring in the third B. It's important to keep belief simple, no fancy affirmations. The subconscious mind prefers simplicity, and that's what we're reprogramming as we do this. So say to yourself, I am okay. All is well in this moment. I can do this. Now, notice how good you feel. Can you imagine doing this and still feeling depressed? It's physiologically impossible because you just called the optimistic kid to the front of the classroom, and two kids cannot stand in front of the classroom at the same time. If you did that with me, thank you. A person can go right back into the 3 Bs of depressed kid, but every time you bring optimistic kid to the front of the classroom, they get more and more used to being there. You might have to use the 3 Bs 30 times a day at first. Since it takes less than 3 seconds, that's not as big a deal as it might seem. Eventually, you'll only need to do it occasionally because optimistic kid gets into the habit of being in the front of the room and running the show, and depressed kid has stopped running the show. And that brings me to a really important point, and I mean really important. This is going to seem weird, but the sooner you accept it as true, the sooner you can experience freedom. There are no bad kids in the classroom. It might seem like obscenity spewing kid who hates being tailgated is a bad kid. Or maybe depression has wreaked so much havoc on your life that it seems like depressed kid is the naughty one. But every part of you, every kid in your classroom is there to protect you. Depressed kid very likely formed when you were a small child, even if it didn't start coming to the front of the classroom until you were older. Depressed kid thinks he's keeping you safe and protecting you from something when he's in front. So when you're ready to switch kids, it's important to send depressed kid a message that says thank you. I know you're trying to help, but I'm okay. It's safe to go sit down and let the other kids love on you. It's safe to feel good. I know that's a lot of words and you don't need to say them. When you do what I'm about to show you, it sends that message in the way that's just right for you in just a few moments. I know this is going to seem too simple, but I double dare you to try it. In fact, you can even do this with me now if you're feeling depressed, which you probably aren't if you did the 3 Bs a minute ago. So real quick, before I show you how to love on depressed kid, I just want to make sure you know that there is a depression to well-being hypnosis audio waiting for you down below in the description of this video. You can get free, immediate access. Okay, here's how to give depressed kid a healing hug before you send them back to your seat, where they can continue to experience healing without you even realizing it. Step 1, notice where you feel depression in the body. It might seem like it's everywhere, so it's important to imagine that you knew the origin point. If you're an analytical person, you'll be relieved to know that this works just as well if you make it up or guess. Just don't skip this step. As you feel depression, simply tune into that part of the body where it originates. You can even pretend to shrink down really tiny and go into that part of the body and then tell depression, I see you, in a kind way. Simply observe the sensation in the body with curiosity. When you spend 5 to 10 seconds doing this, it allows depressed kid to feel acknowledged and seen. Very often that's all the kids want. I'm not a super visual person, and if you don't visualize well, that's okay too. When you say, I see you, we're talking about a kind of acknowledgement. It's like saying, I'm paying attention to you. Maybe you've been running from depression or beating yourself up for experiencing it or wishing it away. That didn't work. And that's the opposite of what we're doing now, and this works. Tell depression, thank you. It's safe to sit down now in a very loving way. And then do the 3 Bs to bring optimistic kid to the front of the classroom. Maybe you say, I don't want to bring optimistic kid to the front of the classroom. I just want to feel okay. I just want the kid that just is. The kid that feels a deep sense of well-being and okayness, even in the midst of the storm. Well, the cool thing is that you now have the information you need to bring any kid to the front of the classroom simply by imagining someone who is being that kid and noticing their three Bs, then matching their three Bs in order of body language, breathing, and belief. Imagine a person who's feeling peaceful with a deep sense of well being and okayness. What is their body language? Remember, facial expressions are part of body language. How are they breathing? And this works just as well if you guess. If you could see a thought bubble coming out of their head, what would they be thinking when they feel well-being? Again, it's okay to guess. And remember to keep it simple. It might be as simple as I'm okay or life is good. Okay, this last part is really important, so please listen closely. Doing this once doesn't magically cure you of depression forever. When I learned how the brain worked, just that knowledge alone helped me stop feeling broken so that I could step out of depression. But then a couple winters later, I started feeling depressed again. People often feel more depressed during the fall and winter months, and if you fall into that category, you do not need to label yourself with seasonal affective disorder. Self-labels are self-hypnosis. So, when I felt depressed in the winter, I thought, oh, it didn't work. I guess I was wrong about my depression being better. Then I realized, nope, the depressed kid just decided to come to the front of the classroom again. I realized that depressed kid has a habit of being in the front of the room during the winter. You see, we don't ever delete depressed kid. They're still there, but they start to heal. Sometimes they come back to the front of the classroom and we experience them again, and that's okay. It's just an opportunity to love on depressed kid by acknowledging them in the body and then changing the three Bs. And that's all it is. Just acknowledge the depressed kid in the body, change the three Bs. Or if it's the anger you're wanting to shift, acknowledge anger in the body, change the three Bs. It's possible that you, like me, might have to do it more often in the darker, colder months, and that's okay. I recently experienced a family tragedy, and depressed kid or sad kid has been coming to the front more often than usual. This is actually appropriate right now. Sometimes it's appropriate to be sad. A very wise colleague, Paul Langfield, suggested that I schedule a time to let sad or depressed kid come to the front of the room. Okay, from 4 to 5 today, I'm just going to let myself feel sad. I could journal and cry and scream and kick and punch or whatever I need to do. That way I can use the three Bs during the day to be functional and let depressed kid know your time in the front of the classroom is coming soon. When I compulsively try to hold depressed kid back and it's appropriate for him to be here, it can make things even harder. But when we allow ourselves to feel appropriate emotions at appropriate times, we acknowledge the kid who wants to be in the front of the classroom in a way that brings healing and peace, and in a way that makes it easy to bring a resourceful kid to the front of the classroom when it's appropriate to do so. And sometimes it is appropriate to bring a resourceful kid to the front of the classroom, even in times of mourning. For people who struggle with chronic depression, here's a hint. It is appropriate to let yourself feel good a lot more often than you might realize. Okay, if you'd like to ensure that this isn't just one of those videos you watch and then forget about, so you can use this information to change your life, I invite you right now to think about a time when you'll use the three Bs in the coming week, or maybe even later today. Don't just say on Monday, but actually imagine yourself being in the time when you might feel depressed. Pretend you're there now, because you're about to use a self-hypnosis technique that proves you'll be able to remember the three Bs. Pretend you're seeing what you see when you feel depressed. You're hearing any sounds that might be happening around you. You're feeling that depressed feeling. Now, imagine that you feel yourself noticing where you feel depression and saying, I see you, for a few seconds. Then changing your three Bs, your body language, your breathing, and your beliefs to bring the appropriate kid to the front of the classroom. Good. Now, imagine being a fly on the ceiling or floating up above yourself and watching this happen down below. Pretend to observe yourself going from depressed to optimistic or okay. You know what's happening because you can see the body language and breathing change. You can even imagine a little thought bubble coming out of your head that switches from life is pointless to I am okay in the space of a few seconds. Again, if you're not a visual person, you can just imagine this in some other way. Can I tell you something? By watching this video, you've just given yourself the gift of freedom. You now have the exact same information and tools that led me from 40 years of depression into a deep sense of okayness and well-being. As I finish the video, I just want to say, watch your mouth. Whether or not you're familiar with hypnosis, you are your own best hypnotist. Your subconscious mind acts as a genie that listens to every word you say. When you say, I'm depressed, or I always get depressed in the winter, you hypnotize yourself for depression, and your inner genie says, as you wish. Instead, you can say, I like the idea of feeling more optimistic, or I'm moving toward a deeper sense of okayness and well being every day. Don't try to make it happen. Just enjoy the journey and gamify this simple, enjoyable, neuroscience backed tool from now on, as you simply take 3 seconds to use the 3 Bs over and over and reprogram yourself for well being. If you really want to skyrocket your success, write your biggest aha moment in the comments below because it further reprograms your subconscious for well-being. If you want a super enjoyable way to reinforce everything you learned here, download your free Depression to Wellbeing hypnosis audio that lets the automatic part of you, the subconscious mind, switch from depression to a deep sense of well-being without having to try to make it happen. Click the link in the video description below to get free, immediate access to your hypnosis audio. I'll see you in the next video.